Dear Diary, it's Drew. I don't know what I'm doing here. I have been thinking about a lot of things going on in my life right now, and I'm thinking I want to write this down or track it for the future. And I've got a lot of things that I'm interested in and a lot of things that I'm thinking about. There's a huge amount of change going on. I just recently, actually today is the final day of the first engineering job I had out of college. And I was there for about 2.5 years. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I finally escaped from that for a plethora of reasons, but not to get into that too deeply. But I'm starting a new job on Monday, and it's a lot of new beginnings right now. I want to do this video, video diary thing, if you will, so I can look back and see the progress I've made on the goals that I've been trying to achieve in my life in the near future, within the next year, within the next 2 years possibly. And I want to be able to look back and see where I came from and where I'm going and the progress that I've made, so I don't forget the things that I accomplish. I feel like I forget the things that I do, or the people in my life, or just my interests, or I push things aside and I forget about them. So I want to be able to look back and have like visible, tangible evidence of progress that I've made in my life. So as I was saying, I just recently quit my first job, and I'm going into a new one. It's like a 6-month contract. But at the same time, I'm in this place where I'm questioning my engineering interest. And I don't know if that's all due to just the way that this first job was set up, and this privately held company run by some questionable management. Either way, I've been in the back of my mind, I've been thinking about, do I like this? Do I like this career path? Do I like this engineering? Do I want to do something else? I'm going to get more, payoff or satisfaction in doing something else. And in the last year or so, in the back of my mind, I've been thinking about teaching. I feel like teaching is a more tangible feedback response to what I'm actively working on, rather than, I worked at a company that made orthodontic braces, and it's so far removed from the end customer for me, from my perspective of things, where I'm not seeing like the ultimate end goal payoff of what I'm working on in a way that I feel I need to be motivated to go to work and do the career. And I reflected on that, and I thought about how I enjoyed so much of seeing children or peers in high school that I was tutoring picking up a new concept. I used to help after school tutoring other high school students, and I've also volunteered with a buddy of mine is an elementary school teacher, and I ran a couple STEM programs for them, just teaching them a couple new math or science topics. And the amount of joy I got out of seeing them learn new things and get excited about learning new things, it far outweighs any joy I've gotten from working in the career that I've started in engineering. That being said, the teaching thing has been a thought about doing, maybe, teaching math or physics, some of the courses I took in high school that I enjoyed and excelled in. But again, I don't know. Right now, I'm so interested in language learning. It's been something that I wish I had realized earlier on, like many years ago, like in high school even. Because retrospectively, while I excelled in, math, science, like chemistry, physics, calculus, all that stuff, my favorite class in high school was Spanish, and I just only in the last year or so realized that, and just how fun that was for me, learning another language and being able to communicate with people that are so different from me, despite my introversion. And in the last 2 years or so, I have been studying and really have been developing an intense passion and interest in Japanese and learning about Japan. I've been studying Japanese mainly through Duolingo, but I also have been watching Japanese YouTubers or watching anime for practice, or and I have another app where I practice writing the kanji, and I'm, I don't know, a quarter of the way through what's called the Joyo kanji, which is it's about 2,000 kanji that are most commonly used in like Japan newspapers and that kind of thing, and I'm successfully writing and understanding about a quarter of them at this point. I put my comprehension level at about beginning to mid N3 in reference to the JLPT Japanese language proficiency standard. And when I think about how I'm so much interested in this Japanese and learning the language, and I think about how I'm not so motivated right now in the engineering thing, like how can I put this job dissatisfaction and this personal interest to a new career or a new opportunity. And in the course of me looking at videos on YouTube and kind of learning about Japan, also through the language study, I came across like popular YouTube channels like Abroad in Japan or Charla and the rest of like the Tokyo creative team mostly, and really starting to learn about the culture. And I'm thinking, I could kind of start falling in love with the idea of traveling, or at least like visiting, maybe even possibly living for a period of time in Japan. And I came across the JET program, where you go to Japan and you teach English to children any age from kindergarten to high school, English, and you support like a teacher in the community anywhere in Japan. Most of the time it is actually rural rather than like a major urban city. And I'm really falling in love with this idea. And I've been practicing Japanese at work and doing things that are in my free time, just practicing Japanese to myself. So one of the goals that I want to get out of the next year and a half is in this fall applying to the JET program. It's a yearly application cycle. The camera's like shaking like crazy because I've got it precariously taped up on top of a monitor. It's also just my phone. What was I saying? One of my main goals in the near future is applying to the JET program in the fall and having an opportunity to travel and live in Japan and teach English and share in this passion I have for learning languages. And I found that there's a few steps and a few things that would really help propel me there, and which includes getting a English teaching certification. And the standard one that's used the most is called a TEFL license. And I just 2 nights ago registered for a course to get certified for teaching English as a foreign language, this certificate. And so that starts in a couple weeks. The course is 11 weeks long. There was opportunities to start the course the same day as my new job started, and I was like, that's a lot of new at the same time. So it's like delayed by a couple weeks. I'm starting the job on the 19th, and I'm starting this online course, this 11-week course, on the May 3rd. I don't know what this channel is going to be. I kind of want it to be a log of me keeping records of my progress as I go through these things, and I want to keep improving my Japanese. I want to keep making steps and progress towards getting better at potentially this new career path in teaching English. But I'm thinking, I just have, with my personality type, I'm very interested in creativeness and adventure and trying new things all the time. So I have a lot of like arbitrary hobbies that are across the board. So I might share interest in things that I'm working on in my free time. For example, during this COVID time, I spent a lot of time with my family, obviously, like most people, like staying in like a nuclear household, not going out. So a lot of my weekends I would come back. I live about 90 minutes from where I grew up, where my parents still are, and I travel home a lot, and we had to find new ways to enjoy ourselves inside and hanging out together. And so something I'd always wanted to do was try Dungeons and Dragons. I'd always wanted to try D&D. I had a cousin that played it and would tell us about us, being my siblings and I, about it at like family parties or times we were hanging out, and she always had these fun stories about what was going on in her D&D group, and I was like, oh, that sounds so fun, but I never really found anybody to play it with. And so during this COVID era, everybody's in free time mode, and so my parents and a friend of mine and my sister and one of her friends, we sat down. We had our little bubble of people for the pandemic time, and began playing, and I've been DMing that game. Technically it's still on hiatus, because my sister and her friend are at college now, and so we're obviously not together. It's harder to put it together, but I've been running a smaller little side campaign with my parents and my buddy. And so as a part of that, I also have purchased a desktop 3D printer, which I have a lot of experience with in my degree. It's a resin printer for specifically smaller models and high detail. And I have a lot of interest in painting them and finding new cool ones to print online. And I could maybe upload videos about that, or like a process on how the 3D printer works, and which one I bought and how it works and all that kind of stuff. I could maybe put a link to that in the description for which one I have. I have the Elegoo Mars Pro model. Sort of gesture over here because it's right over here. As of right now, the models I use, I just download for free that people share open source online to, like, I don't know, Thingiverse or that kind of thing, STL models of miniature-sized parts. And then I give a primer coat layer once they're printed and cleaned and all that stuff, and then I'll paint them. And it's been a really fun thing for me to do also during this time. At some point, maybe I'll look into design software for actually making the art myself, the 3D models. I've never really done that. But knowing me, I'd probably go head over heels for it real quickly and dive in and try to make some cool models myself. So maybe in the course of this coming year and a half or whatever this little video diary thing is, maybe I'll download that and, I don't know, time lapse or something, some of the art I work on if I do that. I'm also interested right now in brewing beers. Though I've only made one batch, it actually finished right around the time that the whole pandemic started. And so I had a full 5-gallon batch of this amber ale that I made, and I really didn't have a means to share it with anybody. So that, not that this is the only excuse that I've only made one batch, but I've had, it lasted so long in my fridge, because I generally won't drink on the weekdays and on the weekends, and then so much of this time I've been going home, so and I didn't have a lot of opportunities to distribute it to the friends that I would have given it to because of this whole time. So it really lasted a long time, but I've also been lazy. So that's why I've only made one batch, but I might document the process of making a beer. If that's something that I feel like making a video about. Maybe I can put that on here too in this time. Also, in the past, I've had a lot of enjoyment in making like funny videos, or like editing like weird clips together and just being goofy. And so this is sort of kind of part of that, is making this channel, maybe like experimenting with a new way of making a video, in this sort of like vlog or diary style or whatever this is. So it's just another creative outlet for me. This is, yeah, I just have a lot of creative energy that I wasn't really able to express in my career in the way I thought I would. I'm hoping I have a chance to do that at this new place, but the nature of the position doesn't seem like it's going to be really geared towards that. So as long as I can continue to have creative outlets like this, I'm hoping to, burn off some of that intrinsic energy in me to just make things. During college, bunch of the bioengineering buddies I had, we always called ourselves like jack of all trades, master of none, and in a lot of ways I feel that way, but I also kind of want to spin that more into like, I'm a modern Renaissance man, or at least I want to be. I just want my fingers in all the pots, like all the cookie jars, all the honey pots, all that stuff. Just so interested in trying new things, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna, whether I'm gonna be practicing, I don't know, speaking Japanese in like paragraphs or like talking about my day, or sharing some of these other hobbies. I don't know what this is gonna be, but I'm just hoping to be able to, hold myself accountable to the goals or the interests I'm doing, and having video evidence of the progress I actually make, I think will motivate me, especially on like the brewing side of things, to keep doing them. Yeah, just don't ask me to do anything musical. I won't touch that. Everything else I'll try. It's just not in the cards for me. Yeah, this has been me, Drew Larson. It's Friday, April 16th, and this is the state of my life.